Hi guys, I am Stephan Van Kuyk. I've been an artist for over a decade, and today we're going to be talking about making money as an artist. It's a little bit of a taboo issue, but if you want to succeed as a professional artist or any way, shape, or form, money has to come into that equation. So we're going to be going on what I would do nowadays with everything I know if I had to start my art career from zero. Luckily, I don't have to, but I'll share how I would do it. Just like a little run-up about me, I'm Stephan Van Kuyk. I've been living in Berlin for 7 years, lived in Brazil, Argentina, New Zealand, and Switzerland before that. And I am the founder of Artists Stop Being Poor. We are a community of artists from all over the world working together to create opportunities and exhibitions and sales for the members of our community. Before that, as I said, artist for 10 years. And when I started my career, I packed all my little artworks, did like a little portfolio, thought it would look cute as fuck, and knocked on a gallery's door and said like, hey, you're a gallery, let me show what I'm doing. And they promptly responded with, who the fuck are you? And I was like, oh, it's not just about making their art. There's something more about this. And, you know, after that, I also worked in marketing for a while and, you know, continued to develop my career, got into street art, which is known for being very open and don't having the gatekeeping that the traditional art system has. And that kind of led me in the direction of self-managing my art career. So instead of waiting for other people to give me the opportunities that I think I deserve as an artist, a lot of the times I create them myself. And that led to the attention and other people want to work with me and whatnot. So before we even start on this little walk around of what you need to do as an artist, you need to look into yourself and figure out what kind of artist you wanted to be, what success looks like to you as an artist. There are thousands of different artists out there, and each one of them wishes for different things from their careers. You know, it could be a photographer that would like to work with landscape photography, or a photographer that wants to work with supermodels, a photographer that wants to work with cars. All of these are different successes for different artists. So first step is you would have to look into yourself and say, what does my career look like in 10 years if everything worked out exactly like I wanted it? It's a lot of wishful thinking, yes, but it's kind of easier to set up a path if you have a broad idea of where you want to go to. So I would say that that's step number one. Figure out what does success look to you as an artist personally. Then we should talk a little bit about the foundations of your art practice. All of this is stuff that I actually learned, way too late to actually implement it in the first part of my career. But as an artist, it's very important to be organized as much as possible. We have this myth of the chaotic artist with a messy studio. It looks great on Instagram, but it's very impractical to maintain an art career under those conditions. So if you're starting from now, or if you started a while back, grab every single artwork on your studio and put it into a pile, photograph it, and put it into an Excel sheet, because you're gonna need inventory. If you're planning on selling art, you need to have art for sale, and you need to know exactly what you have for sale and for how much, and a description, all that stuff. So do your inventory and keep an organized idea of what you're producing, and every time you finish a new body of work, be sure to add that to your inventory. And maybe you get super famous, and in 30 years you need all that information for a fancy museum exhibition or a catalog or something like that. So the best time to plant a tree is like 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. The same thing kind of applies to keeping inventory for your artwork. Then it is the time to introduce yourself to the world, because you need to get yourself out there, you need to get your art out there. So you would start, letting people know who you are and what you're all about. This translates a lot to the whole social media world that we live in, with what impression do you want to give a visitor the first time that they see your profile. Because the chances are that they're going to see 20 other profiles of 20 other artists, but you need to cause that first good impression to see this is this and this artist, and their art is all about this and that. So synthesize what your artwork and your artist career is all about into a tweet-sized piece of content, and then you have that as your elevator pitch and a way to explain who you are and what you do in the most efficient and fast way possible, because people don't have any attention span anymore. So you need to let them know pretty fast about how to do that. Then it's about a question of showcasing your art. A lot of people go with the easy solution that is just taking some pictures on a white background and that's enough. It is literally the bare minimum that you can do to showcase your art. You could take pictures of that art in better scenarios, like in a nice living room or a kitchen. You can make short videos about that artwork with different lighting or moving around so people get that idea of what that artwork actually looks like. You can make, even if you don't have a super nice living room, you can do mock-ups on Photoshop to make look like that artwork is inside of a super hipster kitchen or whatnot. And you can even go the extra mile if you are a sculptor or something like that, to do 3D models of your artworks and stuff like that. So figuring out cool ways to showcase your artwork beyond the basic picture of it on a white background. And while you're working on this of introducing yourself and your art, I always recommend artists to go in the direction of creating an introduction video. This would be something between 45 seconds and 3 minutes and a half, saying hey, I'm so-and-so, this is my art, this is why I do it, this is what I've done so far, these are my plans for the future. Just hello, this is me kind of video. And in both Instagram and TikTok nowadays, you can pin a video to the top of your profile. So making sure that that video is always reachable and one of the first things that people see when they come to your profile. Because we're shifting towards a much more video-heavy relationship with our content. So creating that small video of you introducing yourself, you can add some cool videos of you painting or doing art, some time lapses, stuff like that. Really helps create a favorable first impression, and it's all about first impressions. Then once you kind of have this ready, then it's time again to reflect upon your art a little bit more and kind of try to define what kind of art do you do, what are your subjects, what's its feels. Try to think about, you can always go in the direction of thinking about hashtags that would describe your art. Also analyzing the price frame and the format that you're doing, because this will help you understand what kind of people are more inclined to buy your art. Who is your quote-unquote buyer persona? If you are painting super bondage scenes, you might be inclined to sell your artworks to a more kinky crowd. If you are doing landscapes, your audience will be different. So taking a time to analyze what your artwork is all about will help you also assess who your possible client is and what ways you can get to reach that audience. A good example, for example, would be the photographer that we were talking previously that likes to photograph pictures of cars and whatnot. So he would find his buyer persona maybe in auto events or meetups for old cars or online groups that discuss cars and stuff like that, and developing your artist persona will help you understand the places that your desired audience hangs out both online and offline, and that might come useful down the line. Then when you kind of decided, what your art is about, your artist persona, the buyer persona, it's time to start communicating about your art. Obviously, the first way to talk about this would be social media, choosing a couple of platforms where you're most comfortable with and sharing your art. But I would recommend that more than just sharing your art, as in pictures of your paintings, on and on and on, try to go on the direction of telling a little bit more about your journey as an artist and the process of creating art. A lot of times we as artists don't understand this, but the whole process of making art and creating and experimenting is very entertaining for everybody else that is not an artist. So allow them to have this peek behind the curtain to see what your process is like, what your day-to-day is like. Show the backstage of your career as an artist, and that also allows people to create a parasocial relationship with you, where they think that they know you, that they are part of your artist journey to one level or the other, and that kind of behavior is very easy. It's like easier to transform into a purchasing opportunity or coming to see your exhibition, or next point, signing up for your newsletter. A lot of people are like obsessed with social media. I get it, but we tend to forget that still newsletter is one of the most reliable and consistent ways to keep on touch with your community. If you post on Instagram, maybe the algorithm doesn't like your post and 0.1% of your followers see it. But if you send that same newsletter to like your 5,000 subscribers, you know that they're gonna get it. It can end up in their spam, they can not open it, they can unsubscribe at some point, but they're getting that email. And with social media, you have no guarantees that your content is going to be seen, even by your followers, even if without going into, deeper into, algorithms and discoverability. So, yeah, newsletter. And don't even need to go crazy, just like once a month saying like, hey, this is what happened. Here's some prints, 20% off or whatever. It works. Yeah, once you kind of like establish those two ways, it's about reaching new people, because at this stage, on your imaginary new art career, all your friends know that you're artists, all your family knows, friends from high school, coworkers, all of this. Then it's time to like start looking into expanding that circle of influence that you have. I'm not saying here that you have to have 200,000 followers to be a successful artist, but you can grow your audience a little bit better and bigger and get to be known by other people that might show interest in your art. You can do this by participating in group exhibitions, both online and offline, magazines, curators. There's also a lot of online curators that are just picking cool stuff that they find on the internet and sharing on their Instagrams. Just make a little bit of a research process of who's out there that might want to talk a little bit about your art and help you spread the gospel, you might say. And in this equation also comes in paid ads and social media. They do work, but you need to have a couple of things fixed before just like throwing money into Zuckerberg's pockets. For example, we go to step number 5, putting your art out there practically. We're gonna start by having a website. It's like, yeah, everybody thinks that in these super heavy social media times, websites are past us, but no, as an artist, it's very important that you have your own little professional website. Don't need to go crazy, program anything. Can use something like Shopify or Wix or Squarespace. Those three are the good ones. And just have a place where you have your bio, the exhibitions that you take in part, a lot of pictures of your art divided by projects, a little blog where you can upload your newsletter so people get influenced, and online shop, because it's great to get people seeing your art on Instagram and whatnot, but if they can't buy it, it's frivolous. So you have to have a place where people can actually go and click from your Instagram and buy something without having to answer 7 questions about availability, size, shipping, and whatnot. You put that all in your online shop, and it's taken care of. You can sell art while you sleep, and it's very satisfying. I can tell you. Then that is your own. That's your own hood in the internet. This is your website, you own it, all the commissions are yours. But you can also rely in online galleries that allow artists to upload their artworks and have them for sale there at a commission. This will help you also bring new eyes onto your art, because each one of these online galleries, there are like dozens of them, they have their own audiences that they sell to. So it's new people that might want to get in touch and discover your art and buy through them. And another way that some artists like to work with would be doing commission work for brands, where you do something that the brand wants a little bit and you get paid for it and you get some extra visibility for it. So that's a very good way to collaborate with brands and expand from there. And then basically once you have that, that's kind of like the basis of your art career, and then it's about thinking about taking further steps. At this point you will probably have already sold some pieces, so you need to start establishing long-term relationships with your collectors. It's much more likely that somebody that bought your art in the past will buy another artwork in the future. Also, in the case of people that might have started buying a print or a postcard or something more affordable, as they progress in life and start making more money, they can buy a bigger painting from you or a smaller painting, but something more expensive like you. So it's about creating a community of collectors, which is a very traditional thing from the NFT world, that we're all talking about community and whatnot. It's not very traditional in the art world. In the tradish art world, you might say. So creating the long-term relationships and a sense of community among your collectors and fans is very beneficial. Then you can look into business partnerships. Depending on the style of art you do, you might get artworks on a hotel or something like that, or real estate. Maybe do some posters for a company or something like that. So developing, maybe designing a shoe for Nike or something, it's like the sky's the limit. So partnering with businesses, when both the artist and the business wins, is a great way to expand your career and try new shit. And then partnering with gallerists and curators as a more traditional approach to the art world that we've been doing for so long. It's a great way to expand and reach new buyers and new collectors at the cost of paying up to 50% in commissions. But I recommend artists that even when you reach that point where you're working with galleries and museums and whatnot, always keep a very, very tight ship on your own art career. Even me in this case, I do work with galleries and curators and dealers, but I always sold more art on my own to my own community than they were able to sell on their own, because they're managing 10 artists and I'm managing myself. That is kind of all of it. If there's some questions, I'm glad to answer. All of this that I said is like, I have videos and PDFs for this, so if anybody's super interested, just like hit me up outside and I'll send it to you. I'll answer any questions outside. That was basically it. That was I would do if I had to start my art career from zero. And it's like I wish they would have taught me this in art school, honestly, but they didn't. So that's a little bit what I'm trying to do here. Is like fill in the gaps that were left by traditional art education in a lot of ways, and incentivizing artists that the best way to grow your career is by doing it yourself. The myth of the mythical art dealer that would pick up your career and take it to high places is a myth. So especially with internet and now with NFTs, we can see that artists can take full ownership of their careers and just develop it the way that they want without a lot of outside interference. And that's been pretty cool to see in these last 10 years, over 10 years. It wasn't like this in the beginning. So yeah, that's kind of it. If you guys interested, this Saturday I'm hosting an art market here in Berlin. So if anybody wants to show up, it's at my solo show, and we're featuring 20 other artists selling their artworks at very affordable prices, so great stuff for Christmas and whatnot, and supporting a local artist, which is always great. Okay, then thank you for coming to my TED Talk.